And we are live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Read Aloud with me, Charles R. Smith Jr. Finally been getting the hang of this as April Poetry Month is now coming to an end. We've got actually pretty much just over a week left. So I will be having more readings. I will have my readings on either a Monday or Tuesday and always a Thursday. The next reading that will be coming up will be next Tuesday, the 28th, to celebrate, ironically enough, 28 Days, one of my most beloved books that is used in the classroom by teachers, not only for Black History Month, usually for Black History Month, but also for Poetry Month, and just teaching about Black history in general. Good morning, Keika. How are you? Good to see you again, as usual. I'm going to get started in about a minute. I don't like to linger too long because, like I said, it's recorded anyway. Even though this is live, it'll be archived on my website or on my YouTube channel. Today's book is going to be The Mighty 12. In this book, I had so much fun writing it. I remember when I was writing it, whenever I'm working on any project, I'm always doing other things. And I do remember that when I was working on this project in particular, I was doing a lot of school visits up in the Buffalo area, in the Syracuse area. The reason that I remember that is because I wrote a lot of this on trains. Now, normally I would drive to Buffalo or Syracuse and such, but at that time, I enjoyed taking trains. It seemed to work. Doesn't seem to work as much now, scheduling and stuff, but back then, it was really fun to just take a train ride to go speak at one of these schools, because the train ride was like 6 to 8 hours. And I can get a whole lot done in that time period. And so I remember writing most of the Mighty 12 on a train. So with that, let's get started. So the Mighty 12 is, the subtitle is Superheroes of Greek Myth. And what that means is basically the idea for this book came because I was speaking in a school one day, and I noticed on the walls they had artwork and a project that they had done on the Greek gods and goddesses and mythology in general. And this was a middle school, it was like sixth grade. And I realized that this is something that they study. And this, and I've always been into Greek mythology, but the bigger thing that I've always been into is comic books. I've always loved comic books. So when I came up with the idea was to have, hello, Adiris. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Anybody that comes on to the chat, if you say hi to me, I'll say hi to you. So the idea came because I'm a big fan of comic books. I've loved comic books ever since I was a kid. And to me, the Greek gods and goddesses in mythology were like the first superheroes. You think the lighting is different, Keika? And I'm glad you love my books, Adiris. Good. I'm glad I said it right. The lighting is actually the same. I think what happens is sometimes it depends on the shirt that I wear. That may change things a little, but let me turn the light up a little bit. I'll make it a little bit brighter so you can see me a little better, because the light is right behind the screen. There we go. It's a little too warm for me, but some of that has to do with the black shirt. It changes things. But anyway, we'll continue. So like I said, I'm a big fan of superheroes. And to me, the Greek gods and goddesses of mythology were like the first superheroes. So when I came up with the idea for the book, I said, let's have a comic book artist do the illustration. And we got an awesome comic book illustrator by the name of P. Craig Russell. And he really did his thing on this book. So with that, let's get started. So there are 12 poems in the Mighty 12 because there's 12 Greek gods and goddesses. I included some monsters because there are monsters in the Greek world. And you'll see how they all connect together. All right, so let's get started. So the first poem is basically the opening. And I wanted to set the tone of where we were. So the Greek gods and goddesses live on Olympus, the top of the mountain. All right, let's see. Adira says, do I remember when my teacher called me from Zoom in my classroom? I do remember that. I haven't had a ton of Zoom calls, so it's very easy to remember, but I do remember that. And it was last year. Yes, I do remember that. You were in Puerto Rico, correct, Adiris, if I'm not wrong? I don't speak to many people from Puerto Rico. That's why I would say that. So if that's where you are, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to get started on the first story, the first poem here. So the poem is called Welcome to Olympus. And see, I have a good memory, Darius. Thank you. So the rhythm for this poem actually came from a rap song. I'm a big fan of rap. I love hip hop. And it's a Ludacris song called Welcome to Atlanta. And it had this beat. And so I just thought of Welcome to Olympus. So I took that beat and I put it into the poem. Welcome to Olympus. Welcome to the world of immortal men and women, the gods and goddesses of Greece who rule their dominion from high on Olympus, their eternal home above Grecian mountaintops and clouds where each throne sits and shines and puts on display the personality of all Olympians while they work or play, cause chaos or say wicked words that lead many astray. Playing people like pawns in a grand game of chess, the gods of Olympus infinitely test assorted mortals while testing each other like Hades, Zeus, and Poseidon, true blood brothers who long ago fought over domains. So they drew straws to see who would claim the underworld, the sky, and the far-ranging sea. Zeus won the sky and his brothers envy because now he had the most power of all three. Speaking of siblings, Artemis and Apollo, the twins can be found on Earth slinging arrows without being heard and without being seen, while Hermes the messenger darts in between Olympus and the underworld below, where Cerberus the dog guards souls and shadows and welcomes warriors from the battlefield, those encouraged by Ares to swing sword and shield. But in between wars, Ares can be found in the arms of Aphrodite, the wife of Hephaestus, the skilled craftsman who, despite his deformities, crafts tried and true weapons of war for the likes of Athena, the warrior goddess who cursed Medusa. Meanwhile, up high, waiting to see if her husband will show his infidelity, Hera spies Zeus like a hawk eyeing prey, while Dionysus dances and laughs the day away. 8 gods, 4 goddesses do as they desire, while their sister Hestia tends to the fire. High on Olympus, warming their home, waiting to welcome each back to their throne. So come along to meet the gods of the Greeks and witness the powers and adventures of each. So I'll go over something super quick. So I mentioned that there's 12 gods and goddesses. There are actually 13 gods and goddesses technically that are considered Olympians. And I mentioned one of them, Hestia. She tends the fire. She's not really featured in the book because that was literally her only job, was to tend the fire, to basically when the parents came or when the other gods and goddesses came back to Olympus, they would have some place to hang out. So that was her only job, Hestia, the goddess of the hearth. You love that part. Good, Keika. I'm glad you like it. All right, so we're going to move on. This one I am going to perform for you because this is a poem that I normally perform in schools when I talk about this book, and that is of Zeus. So as you can see, the comic book artist did an awesome job of making the pictures look like a comic book. So I'm going to perform for you from Zeus. His poem is called The God of All Gods because he's considered the God of all gods. Zeus, perched above clouds, majestic and high, sits mighty God Zeus, Lord supreme of the sky, surveying mere mortals from a gold marble throne, ablaze in glory atop his Mount Olympus home, conspiring and testing with bald eagles resting on mountainous shoulders. He dishes out blessings to those who are weak, to those who are meek, to those who give thanks to the gods when they speak. The rain god who reigns with scepter in hand gathers up clouds to blanket the land, preparing to punish those who tell lies and those who reveal wicked thoughts in their eyes. With white whiskers curled and red lips unfurled, he exhales a hurricane breeze, filled with anger that bursts through the clouds, shaking and swaying the trees. Unleashing his wrath on those who displease. These mortals then pray, then drop to their knees. But pleas and prayers fall on deaf ears as Zeus drops to the earth a river of tears stirred by the wind, signaling punishment from Zeus will begin. Raising his scepter high to the sky, his right hand releases a flash that lets fly an electrically charged flaming thunderbolt that staggers dishonest mortals with a jolt that jumps from skies he tears open, singeing a message that says, Zeus has spoken. Yeah. That's the end of that one. Excuse me. Hope you enjoyed that one. That is one of my favorites to perform when I speak in schools, primarily because, and part of the reason that I did this book is because most of my books focus on sports. And if you've joined me before, you've seen them. You've seen me do my Muhammad Ali book, my book on Jack Johnson. Those were boxers. You've seen me do my 2 books on basketball. But I wanted to show people that I'm interested in more things than just sports. So in this case, I decided to focus on something completely different, and that's Greek mythology. And so by the time I get to Zeus, I'm performing a poem for some people, for some kids, and that may be the first one that they're really interested in because they just might not be interested in sports. So let's keep going. So that was Zeus. He is a god. There are goddesses in the book, as I mentioned, but there are also monsters. So I am going to share with you some of that, but let's go to another god. I should say, actually, a goddess, one of my favorites. Let's see, where is she? There she is, Athena. Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Now, one of the questions that kids would often ask me is, who is my favorite god and goddess? So I would think of gods. My favorite god is probably Zeus or Poseidon. You know, I like the water. But my definite favorite goddess is Athena, and she might even be my favorite god or goddess, period. Because as I researched her and learned about her, she was the most unique in terms of what she can do and the powers that she had. They really captured my imagination. So let's do Athena, goddess of wisdom. From the skull of Zeus, shrieking fierce battle cries, sprang Athena, the goddess of wisdom, with eyes flashing like lightning, wearing armor of gold. From helmet to foot, a stunning sight to behold. A shield in her left hand, a spear in her right. The warrior goddess mixes mind and might on the field of battle with a brave heart. But off the field, she's the goddess of art, inventing the bridle for man to tame horses, inventing the sail to harness gale forces. But her most generous gift was a tree bearing olives that she gave to a Greek city that honored her by taking her name, Athens, and soon the city became rich through her gift and home to her temple, the Parthenon, where mortals went seeking her counsel, giving their ear to the goddess of clear vision and thought to overcome fear in times of despair or in times of war. Her wisdom-filled words to mere mortals or future heroes helps to slay foes of all shapes and sizes with calculated blows. Surrounded by soldiers is when she shines best, protected in armor, covering her chest, standing with calm on the battlefield, raising her spear, clutching her shield, hammered by Hephaestus and sketched with the face of the monstrous Medusa, crowned with snakes. Athena flashes bolts from each eye and leads the charge with her thunderous cry. I hope you like that one. The light looks a little bright, so I'm going to turn it back down just a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. There we go. Good. All right, so that was Athena. So that was a fun one. Let's see what we got. Where can I purchase my books? Where can you get them? You have to go to a meeting. All right, thanks, Keika. Thanks for stopping in again. I always love seeing you there. You can purchase my books. Go into my website. It's charlesrsmithjr.com. Type in books, and you'll see every single book there, and it will link you to an independent bookstore, not just Amazon. As much as we love Amazon, I also love independent bookstores because they're in your local neighborhood. And if the local one can't serve you, then another one can. I like to support independent bookstores because they're run by just regular folks, usually a family, usually one person. It's not a big corporation. So when you support independent bookstores, you are not only supporting a book business, you are supporting somebody right in your community. So let's get to the last one. So I just talked about Athena. She is the goddess of wisdom. And I mentioned a monster in there, the monstrous Medusa. So let's learn about Medusa because she wasn't always a monster. Bye, Keika. See you next week. All right, so Medusa, there she is. So we get to see a nice picture of Medusa right here, but she is in the book earlier as a monster. There she is. Right before Athena, there's Medusa where she has the snakes in her hair. And so the legend was if you looked Medusa in the eye, you would instantly turn into stone, which is why her hair became snakes. But why did they become snakes in the first place? Well, let's read her poem and find out. Excuse me. Need some more water. Medusa, the Gorgon. Beware encounters with the nightmarish Medusa, a former fair sea maiden envied by Athena, the goddess of wisdom, because the lovely and young Medusa sparkled on the sea with hair like sunlight, flickering so bright in the dark, drawing boats like a beacon at night. Her voice called to sailors, and with each exhaled breath, she intoxicated them, causing shipwrecks and death. Athena watched with anger the young boastful beauty, with a jealous rage burning, and made it her duty to turn the poor girl with such gorgeous features into the most monstrous of creatures. Admiring her image in her mirror, the ocean, Medusa stared at her pride-filled reflection, while Athena hovered invisible to the young woman who sat on a rock, running her comb through her long flowing hair, when a snake appeared, sprouting from her head, filling her with fear, filling her eyes with horror and shock, as green hissing snakes replaced each flowing lock. A closer inspection of her reflection revealed she had turned into a Gorgon, with a face of brass and a blood-red tongue, teeth like a boar, and scales glowing golden. The blood-chilling sight froze her heart with grief, making her scream, howl, and shriek, making her flee into the sea to hide her hideous face and body. But she resurfaced in a land far away where no humans exist, nor light of day. Athena just smiled as Medusa fled, and for a prize requested her snake-covered head for men who were willing but ended up dead. For Medusa doesn't just frighten alone. One look at her face will turn you to stone. And that is the end. 4 poems from the Mighty 12. I can only read a few. I can't read the whole book because of licensing. That means my publisher who made the book does not allow me, and I wouldn't want to, because I would want you to get excited about what you saw and then go check the book out. So I hope you enjoyed it, the Mighty 12. This is the end of this live presentation, but the next Read Aloud will be on, like I said, Tuesday, the 28th of April, because I know this will be recorded, to celebrate. Well, I shouldn't say to celebrate, but to share 28 days. So if you're a teacher, and I'm sure that you use this book in the classroom because many teachers do, check out a really fun read aloud and performance from 28 days on the 28th. So that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you check back again soon, and have a good day.